Let's finish this.
This is the University of Texas in Austin. Again, more protests.
The driving force behind the bill is the student protest happening on campuses across the country. What started at Columbia University as an outspoken demonstration against genocide has quickly spread to schools in every state in the country. As militarized police beat students demanding divestment from Israel, weapons manufacturers, and an end to the genocide, the protest grew into a full-fledged anti-imperialist movement to rival the Vietnam War protests. This student movement has become a cultural schism. On one side, we see young people of all races, creeds, and backgrounds uniting with principled university staff, human rights workers, journalists, historians, and normal, decent people to demand an end to the most obvious genocide in modern history. And rising up against them, we see violent police, frat boys, Zionist agitators, weapons manufacturers, corrupt university officials, and politicians bought by the pro-Israel lobby. There's good news and bad news in this mini-civil war. On the bright side, normal, decent people opposed to genocide vastly outnumber the ghouls supporting it. On the other hand, the minority, the increasingly fascist US government, and their unholy merger of state and corporate power are the ones with all the tools at their disposal to win. They know they can never win the hearts and minds of the people, so as they have many times before in this country's history, they weaponize the legal system to make the fight unwinnable for the rest of us. That's where this bill is coming from. If it's anti-Semitic to gather and say, what Israel is doing is wrong and amounts to apartheid, or Israel is committing genocide, then it'll be the easiest thing in the world to send in the police, round up the protesters, and throw them in jail. Make decency a crime, and suddenly we're all criminals. We don't have a say in the matter. The only people who do are the ones committing the genocide, funding the genocide, and building weapons for the genocide. That doesn't sound like a legitimate government to me. But something else that's important to note is that the legal system is not a moral system. Legal does not mean right. Illegal does not mean wrong. Slavery was legal. Segregation was legal. What Rosa Parks did, refusing to give up her seat for a white man, was illegal. Was she wrong? No. The law was wrong. The only thing this new bill will do if it becomes law, which it probably will be to justify mass arrests and fascist crackdowns on protest against this deeply illegitimate regime. Fascism isn't always goons marching with American flags. In fact, that's the least threatening form of fascism. The real threat is when neoliberal politicians, and that includes both Republicans and Democrats, feel threatened by a rising tide of class consciousness and turn their imperialist tendencies inward. This has been an ongoing process for a long time, but it's really begun to accelerate as the US position as the global hegemon continues to slip. So when this bill becomes law, and the next one, and the next one, and more expressions of discontent and righteous anger become illegal, remember that the morality of those protests hasn't changed. Speaking out against genocide is still the morally correct thing to do, no matter how hard the suits and talking heads try to spin it. I don't know about you, but I can't think of a single instance in history where crushing dissent to make it easier to fund a genocide has been the right thing to do. That's usually a pretty good indicator that the people doing it are the bad guys. The United States, Israel, all the US's little vassal states in Western Europe, they're the bad guys. The people on the receiving end of the occupation and apartheid and genocide, they're the good guys. Heck, you don't even have to think they're the good guys. They're just the guys. People trying to live on their ancestral land in homes their families have lived in for generations and resisting their execution by an occupying force. And here we get to an important piece of psychology for all of us in the West. Resistance. What is it? How is it portrayed in the media, in popular culture?
It's the resistance.
Well, it's actually kind of interesting, because in every piece of media where there's an empire or a bigger army or an occupying force and then a resistance, who are the good guys? The resistance. And yet in real life, when actual people oppose the empire, whether it's the British, French, or US empire, those same people, the resistance, are labeled terrorists. They're the bad guys. Why is it that we can identify with brave resistance fighters in movies, but not in real life? Even in Star Wars, one of the most famous series of all time, we're able to side with the rebels against a sci-fi depiction of our home country.
The irony of that one is, in both of those,
the little guys won.
Right.
And the big, highly technical empire,
The English Empire, right?
English
British
Empire, the American Empire,
Yeah.
lost.
Yeah.
That was the whole point.
Is it just because it's fantasy? The good guys are presented as the good guys? The good guys look and sound like us? Yeah, that's probably a big part of it. Another part of it is good old white supremacy and American exceptionalism. For the entire existence of the United States and the entire colonial period of the Western empires, white people would show up in some exotic land, butcher and subjugate the people, and would somehow convince everyone back home that anyone who resisted these invaders were terrorists. It's the oldest trick in the imperialist book. It is exactly the same with Israel and Palestine. A Western...
When are you going to comment on the imminent war of NATO against Russia in Europe? I'm German chatter. Soon they are sending me to the front. What? What the fuck? Oh no. Don't do it, brother. Dessert. Leave. Yes, for sure, man. Drop a sledgehammer on your toe. Yeah, that is a definite thing that people did back in the day. This is a real thing in Germany. A lot of mania about getting sent to the front lines. Wait, really? Asking a German to break the rules is obviously going to be impossible. I'm asking for you to do something impossible. I know. You go against your German imperative. My sister lives in Germany. They think shit's about to pop the fuck off over there. No, this chatter is correct. Macron has been like signaling that he wants to send French troops into Ukraine for quite some time. And even America has actually removed some of the rules of engagement restrictions that they'd placed upon the Ukrainian military in terms of hitting inside of Russian soil. Germany is definitely militarizing and has been aggressively militarizing for the past decade especially. Definitely kicked into high gear since the Russian invasion of Ukraine. We're at the precipice of Russia wouldn't make it past Poland. Russia wouldn't make it to Poland. That's crazy. The issue is like, does the comfortable European nations have the smoke to defend NATO that hard? The Foreign Legion is already in Ukraine. Yeah, that doesn't count. That's not what I'm talking about. The Reddit Legion is already in Ukraine. Dude, I don't know. I don't know what will happen. Okay? I don't know what will happen. As far as like an escalation between two states that have nukes. Russia said yesterday they will strike French targets in Ukraine after France said they can use their weapons to strike Russian civilians. America has also removed those restrictions. Are you optimistic about the next 50 days? No. I am just going to say I am very, very scared about the future of Europe for this principle and this principle alone. Because, yeah, they didn't say Russian civilians. Yeah, of course they didn't say Russian civilians. That guy's saying Russian civilians because Russian civilians will die if Ukraine starts targeting inside of Russian soil. Normally, Europe waits till someone gets to Poland. This is crazy to Europe. They're defending the Polish. This is how you know it's serious. I wouldn't say they're defending Poland. More so that they're defending what America wants them to defend. You say Russia won't make it to Poland, but don't forget they got China and North Korea behind them. Listen, I personally will always be cautious when making predictions about what Russia might do and what the Western world might do against what they perceive is what Russia is going to do. Don't fearmonger, please. We are good. It's same for the last few years. No, I don't think it's the same for the last few years for one reason. Okay, no fucking not. A German with that view would never find your channel. They vote AFD. Okay, here's the thing. Here's the thing. I don't think it's the same as it is for the last couple of years because Russia has made a shit ton of gains in Ukraine. That's number one. It has been very costly. It's been very bloody. And Ukraine is like the Ukrainian defenses are damn near done at this point. Draft restrictions have been lowered. People are getting arrested to go fight in the front lines against their will. That is not a good sign. Ukraine not only desperately needs weapons, okay, but they also need people. What that means is if they don't have enough people, the other countries, the Western backers of Ukraine, can either literally forcibly deport Ukrainian men back to Ukraine, or they can send their own militaries into Ukraine. Both are politically troublesome things to engage in. And I do not know what will happen, but things are definitely different. They said on every step of the way, we're going to nuke UN, weapons from the West, tanks, fighter jets. They did. Also, a German wouldn't spell Ukrainians. Ukrainians, Lamau, it's a K in German. I don't think it's a C anywhere. Not to mention the money is ran dry. PMC offers have declined steeply. I first saw offers for 1K a day, now to 1K a week. CD Projekt Red and Larian Studios are now in Poland. We can't let it fall. I agree. "50% of Ukrainians, according to the Kyiv Independent, think Zelensky failed to fulfill all or most pre-election promises," survey shows. Sociologists interviewed 1,002 respondents from Ukrainian, all Ukrainian oblasts that are not under Russian occupation. The participants of the survey